What is considered morally good and morally bad can show differences between individuals and cultures. Eastern countries, for example, centre morality around achieving a group goal, compared to Western countries, which are more concerned with the freedom and purpose of the individual rather than a group effort. Johnathan Haidt is a famous political psychologist who has used moral psychology to help understand why conservatives and liberals disagree. Through moral psychology, we can start to comprehend why individuals have different moralities, trying to achieve political goals for a better society. Haidt adopts what is considered a descriptive definition of morality, where morality is certain codes of conduct put forward by a society or group or accepted by an individual for their behaviour. Then the function of this is to suppress or regulate self-interest and make cooperative societies possible. Under this definition, we start to see the gravity of asking why morality separates people. Because without a concept of morality, we might not see the cooperation between people to build a civilization. We need to know the good and bad of morality, as Haidt also puts forward that cooperation decays without punishment. Johnathan Haidt has achieved at moving forward the research for moral psychology, breaking away from older schools of moral philosophy but still aimed at studying moral reasoning. This is not just academic, but important for Johnathan Haidt, who believes a lack of moral diversity will stop open-minded thinking and make conservatives and liberals more spiteful of each other. Haidt has stated, "Morality dignifies and elevates, because it ties us all to something greater than ourselves, each other." Perhaps one of Johnathan Haidt's biggest contributions to moral psychology is the 5 moral foundational theory. Someone who opposes gay marriage and another who finds no issue with it will perceive each other's morality as delusional. To explain why this is, morality can be cut up into 5 foundations. Harm and care involves the disapproval of harm and to promote care. Fairness and reciprocity, where we will find cooperation and universality. In-group and loyalty, which prioritizes trust over distrust. Authority and respect, some cultures will see this as having wise leadership. Finally, we have purity and sanctity, where a culture will elevate over the negativity of disgust. Liberals' morality is based on the harm and care and fairness and reciprocity foundations, whereas conservatives' morality is based on all 5 foundations. Conservatives will generally see morality as something to reduce fear and promote order, compared to the closeness between the first 2 foundations, and liberals mean they are focused on more humanitarian and equality efforts, basically meaning conservatives are pessimistic and liberals are optimistic. When it comes to justice-related issues, conservatives and liberals will disagree when it comes to punishment and crime. This is because while conservatives' morality is based on all 5 foundations, the foundation of fairness and reciprocity makes up half of the liberals' moral world. Johnathan Haidt remarks, by understanding this, we can break away from a good versus evil mindset that is present in our political conversations. Johnathan Haidt uses moral psychology as a tool to deal with the American culture war, which divides deep political issues like gay marriage and the authority of parents. Returning back to the differences between Western and Eastern countries, moral psychology also divides morality into 3 ethics. Ethic of autonomy concerns the individual and the self. Ethic of community, all about group cohesiveness, duty, and interdependence. Ethic of divinity, including ideas like purity, sanctity, and the suppression of instincts. Generally, it is assumed that right-wing individuals will orientate towards an ethic of autonomy, while left-wing individuals will orientate towards an ethic of community. What would happen if we tried to persuade a conservative or liberal to break their moral code? How far would someone go, if at all, to do something they consider immoral? Johnathan Haidt and other researchers asked conservatives and liberals a list of immoral acts they would do in exchange for money. It was found that conservatives were more unwilling to take money for immoral acts, which would violate their moral foundations of in-group, authority, and purity, compared to liberals who would perform such acts. Liberals also remain consistent when we talk about half of their moral world earlier being made up of harm and care. When it came to doing something immoral that would involve harm, liberals asked for more money than conservatives did. Another study found socioeconomically, higher socioeconomic groups are more permissive to stories of material and psychological harm than lower socioeconomic groups. You can even see this consistency in how political individuals present their morality and moral judgments. In conversation, liberals will use words about harm and fairness, compared to conservatives who discuss more about authority and purity. So far, we have talked about the political and cultural uses of morality to clean up our immoral acts and perceptions, even when we disagree about what these are between us. Some cultures will make this a community effort, whereas others a selfish act which has indirect positive effects on society. Emotional disgust is an important part of moral psychology. The element of disgust is not by definition immoral, but it can be perceived to be so. Disgust is the threatening opposite to purity. And if we are to theorise purity as a moral psychological foundation, then disgust is to be considered immoral. Thus, it is something that emotionally influences moral judgment. These emotions will come first in our moral judgment, as they are something developed before we form a political attitude. As Piaget will say, our morality comes from playing and eventually building our morals from fabricating rules to formalising competition and cooperation. Dispositional proneness to disgust was more present in conservatives than liberals. For example, earlier we mentioned the political divide in the American culture war on gay marriage. To extreme conservatives, these emotions of disgust manifest in sexuality, thus having conflicting social issues about gay marriage and abortion. Disgust is nothing unique to Western culture, it is a cross-cultural characteristic. Disgust is an emotion researchers talk about frequently when studying morality and moral judgments. By mentioning this emotion, it gives us an insight to understand morality firstly as emotional. So when we see conservatives and liberals disagree furiously, this is a battle of emotions and not rational thought. Johnathan Haidt uses a more social intuitionist approach to morality in this regard compared to a rationalist one. Under a social intuitionist approach, it considers the emotional side of morality and embraces the fact some individuals consider behaviour immoral without justifying it. Together, Johnathan Haidt might be one of the most important political psychologists. Not only does he make sense of the political divide with his theoretical ideas of moral psychology, but he uses it as a method to bring political-minded individuals together and face societal problems in cooperation. Haidt allows us to understand morality not just as complex politically, but its social and cultural and individual purposes. Johnathan Haidt is just one person in the field of many researchers. Haidt himself has claimed he is too critical of liberals and not critical enough of conservatives. But his work so far promotes a good political use for open-minded thinking and moral diversity. Johnathan Haidt's work is not just academic, but a message to help us think more openly about the invisible wall of morality that divides us. As usual, here is another poster to accompany this video, illustrating the works of Johnathan Haidt and his contributions to political psychology. Once again, thank you for watching.